Ladies and gentlemen, back here, the report from Tiger Mountain for the second part of our discussion at an undisclosed location with Mr. David Thrussell. Our queen has fallen. We're going to put her here for the time being. And the globalists, the black, are making their move. Can the white?
Certainly making their move.
Can they come back? We're sitting here at the grand chessboard examining the situation. Join us tonight for a second part of our chat with David Thrussell, the report from Tiger Mountain. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we are back. So, second part of our chat. What were we talking about in the first part?
The endless plague, the plague that will never end.
Yes, the endless pandemic.
Yeah. I mean, they've made their move. I hope. I'm trying to remain a faintest hint of optimism. I hope that they've made themselves too obvious. You know, they've moved too quickly. They're too arrogant. They're too confident. These are the things that I hope for. You know, because they control the media, they control politics, they control academia, etc., etc. But I've noticed whenever I have friends who send me snippets of mainstream media every now and then, right? Just to annoy me, I think, basically, if every now and then they accidentally leave the comments on some mainstream media thing like the ABC or Channel 7 or something like this on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
I don't even look at the story generally. I look at the comments.
Everyone's turned, everyone knows.
Well, it's
extraordinary.
Full of thousands of people who don't buy it.
Absolutely.
Go, oh, this is bullshit. I don't buy it. Fuck off. Blah 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 blah.
I constantly. That's one of the reasons I enjoy being on social media. I constantly go on the mainstream and,
They generally turn the comments off, don't they? Because they don't like the interact. Oh no, they do. I mean,
they do sometimes.
Yeah, they do. But every now and then they accidentally leave them on.
Yeah. On Facebook, you sometimes often have a comment section. But the amount of people who turn. I mean, clearly the people who doubt this event are more vocal on social media than the people who agree with it. I mean, a lot of people who agree with it is going along with it, but. I mean, I don't know.
I think it's a bit of, and I maybe I'm going overboard about this, but I think there is a bit of a class thing involved in this.
Yes.
I've noticed we've discussed this before. I think what I would call the enabling class, or even the collaborator class.
Yes.
The sort of your upper middle class types who are in the media and they're in academia and they work for the government and blah blah blah. They're all on the gravy train. They're rewarded for their obedience, and so they're incredibly obedient, and you cannot have a discussion with them or penetrate their bubble with any kind of information or any doubt.
Did you see recently?
But other people who aren't on the gravy train are much more open. The average people, for want of a better word, are actually reasonably suspicious of this thing. But the enabling class, they're on the gravy train. They're rewarded for their obedience, and they don't want to doubt it for a second.
Avi Yemeni, I don't always like everything he does or supports or whatever, but he did this interesting video with somebody from the ABC. She was like a makeup person, and she wasn't a presenter or anything, but she doubted, some of the mask wearing narrative,
Sure.
And also there was this other nurse in Canada it wasn't to do with Avi Yemeni, but it was another video that was online. Basically, she volunteered in Africa, and she went to places like Kenya where there is no masks, and basically there is no COVID.
Of course.
You know what I mean? There is no COVID. You're not even worried about it.
Well, you don't have 20. You probably, I don't know, but I'm assuming you might not have 24/7 media coverage.
No, they don't.
Everything.
They don't. And
so
also the people there. People
away.
there don't have there still are large portions of the planet that are not, there are a lot of people on the planet who don't even have electricity. Not only do they not have internet, they don't have television. And these people are basically COVID-free.
The spell disappears because we're in a spell. I actually think, I'll be honest about it, I think that this is an occult moment.
Yeah.
And we are under a spell.
We are.
And by
we're going to break it, ladies and gentlemen.
Absolutely.
Stop buying it. Stop obeying.
It's a spell from the media. They pump out this fear porn, and it hypnotizes people. And traumatizes them.
It does. Yeah.
If you're not exposed to that garbage, I think it all probably wafts away.
Yep.
And it's not just this fake pandemic nonsense. I think this actually applies across the board to all sorts of things.
All sorts of things.
We're in a spell, largely cast by the media and the puppets in politics and the rest of them, blah, 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 But it's a spell.
Well, we're talking about this Africa again. I mean, Africa's done rather well during all this. It's done better than many European countries. When you consider how unhygienic it is, how is that possible in a pandemic? And the other thing that's interesting...
None of this shit adds up.
Exactly, none of it.
Adds up.
And there's this leader, I'm not entirely sure, but I believe it was Tanzania.
Tanzania.
What he did too is when he got the tests, is he tested a papao, and tested a mango, and he tested like a duck or something, and they all came back positive. Goat. That's right. They all came back positive for COVID. And so that's when he thought,
at the time, I went, oh, watch out, mate. Watch out.
And he's dead now.
Yeah, you're going to get Epstein, mate.
He got Epstein, and he obviously didn't buy it. And there are other I mean, obviously, Africa is a country, when you have a health scare, I mean, this is a country that has real health scares, that has real health problems. And when they have a health problem, you know, 1 million people die, or, you know, a lot of people die. So when they have something that doesn't matter, like, I guess, it seems like Africa's whole reaction to COVID is like, you know, that is literally it.
Well, I don't know, I'm not there, but I assume it's because they don't have the spell. Certainly not as strongly as we have. This occult spell.
And we can't leave our countries, you know. I mean, England's been locked down in their houses basically as long as we were last year. You were lucky you're in the country, but in Melbourne it was like a Stalag fucking 13.
To be honest, you could feel the evil emanating from Melbourne, and
really?
I'm not even exaggerating.
Now, Daniel Andrews, he had a little tumble down a flight of stairs. You got an opinion on that?
Apparently, yeah. Well, I mean, I noticed, and I could be wrong about this because I don't, you know, I just glance at these things. I don't take all of it in, but it seemed like 4 of them went down in a week. Andrews, the health minister, the defence minister, some other minister.
Yeah.
4 of them went down in a week.
What's that about?
Something odd going on there, isn't there? I mean, were they dumb enough to take the vaccine? I mean, surely they're not that stupid, you know?
No, maybe they are.
Maybe they are, you know?
I honestly think a lot of people at the ABC who are useful idiots or whatever, they're going to be taking the vaccine, mate. And they're clearly not in on not doing it, you know?
But would they really give it to it? Because a guy like Andrews is a sort of a linchpin. You know, he's a very pivotal guy. They need that guy to enact this plan. You know? I mean, are they dumb enough to give that thing to him?
He's not even back yet, you know. It happened like 3-4 weeks ago. He's still off deck. Basically,
I'm assuming they were dumb enough to take the vaccine.
Yeah.
Or
it was at Lindsay Fox's house, who's a
so they
big guy.
say. I don't know if I believe any of these narratives because that looks like a counter narrative, that you don't ask questions about what actually the hell happened. You know,
because there's been a royal commission that he's been proposing into Crown Casino. I mean, I don't know if it had anything to do with that, but obviously I think it's a very strange event. And obviously he was seriously injured because he's been off deck for a while, and he'd love to be, you know, making pronouncements and banning people.
Well, it all seems to have got a little bit quiet without him involved. He's a linchpin, that guy.
He's
obviously, you know, he's obviously a very
top Kabbalist.
Well, I don't think so, necessarily, not necessarily, but he's a very useful puppet. This guy, you know, he's well programmed. He's totally on board. You know.
Now, speaking of the Queen, what do you think of Meghan Markle and Harry and all that stuff?
I don't follow these things, to be honest. You know, I know that you're a little bit of a fan of the royal family. You've said before.
To some extent. I mean, I do think it's interesting the way that Meghan Markle and Harry and Oprah and that kind of released this video that was definitely attacking them, and also too that Prince Andrew was kind of lured into the kind of web of Epstein. And you know, I mean, that's what it was. I mean, Jeffrey Epstein, he has prostitutes who are 20, 25 years old. He's in New York. One minute you're partying with 25-year-old prostitutes thinking it's great. Next minute you're on an island and hang on a minute, you've got a 15-year-old, a 16-year-old. He snuck one in there, you know. So I think it's obviously about blackmail. It's obviously about Mossad and to gain kind of political control over people. But I think someone like Andrew, but the fact that he was lured, it means that they see the royal family as an enemy. Because often when you talk about the cabal, a lot of people include the royal family as like being like the Rothschilds almost, but there seems to be some schism there. So, I mean, I think that's maybe interesting. That's why I wanted to bring it up.
Possibly. I mean, if that were the case, I would assume that was infighting between different groups of the cabal.
Yeah, I think that would make sense.
You know, and I look, I'm not sure about, you know, I hold the royal family in low regard. That's probably the most generous thing I could say. I just think that they're the bandits and murderers who are the most successful.
Well, really, they were the globalists before the globalists. You know, I mean,
precisely.
The British Empire are the globalists. And if you really think about what the globalists are doing, like, you know, today's globalists, the School of Davos, the Bilderbergers and all this group, they're essentially copying the tactics of the British Empire, divide and conquer.
Absolutely divide and rule. Absolutely
looting and pillaging. You know, strip mining the economies of all the countries they control. This is what they're doing.
It's colonialism 2.0. It really is.
That's the name of this video, ladies and gentlemen. Colonialism 2.0.
What's interesting and tragic at the same time is that they've done this great psychological operation on the people who may have been the dissidents, but I think that actually they're too mentally and politically incompetent to even be up to that. And they've turned them, they've flipped them, and The Guardian is the perfect example of this. And these people are now cheerleaders for colonialism 2.0. You know, I mean, that whole strata, which may have offered some resistance, but they're probably too pathetic to even offer any resistance to anything, really. But they have been all weaponized into be cheerleaders for colonialism 2.0. I mean, the layers of irony and dysfunction at the moment are extraordinary. You know?
All right. Well, I think it's time for to make another move here on the chessboard. The white is going to take Take the black. There you
Whoa.
go. We've made a move. The cabal has lost a piece.
Oh,
Look out.
thank heavens for that. It's about
All right,
time.
we're going to come back and do a third shorter video and sum up what we've been talking about today here with David Fussell. Thank you for listening.